Aurora model motoring, reconditioning an original Thunderjet 500. A request was made to me to do a longer video. So today I'm going to recondition this Aurora model motoring Thunderjet 500 red Corvette. As you can see, it's corroded. It's been well played with. The brushes are worn down. It's missing the rear bumper. It's got some decals. It's been painted. The chrome is wearing off. However, this is a good candidate for a restoration. Right now the engine does not work. It's on, plugged in, nothing. However, looking at it, it looks like it should be restorable. The first thing I'm going to do is take this car completely apart. I did not show that on the last video, so I will show it now. I am attempting to work with a camera in front of me, so it may be a little bit precarious. Probably most of you have done a lot of work like this. The screws even corroded somewhat. We'll clean that up at the very end. I have an FR, front, rear. Take the back screw out completely as well right now. For the first time I'll be able to look at the post. Alright, wow. Posts are great. I don't have to repair those. I was almost hoping I had to show you how to do that with the post saver. What I'm going to do with this body right now is soak it for a while in basic rubbing alcohol. That will loosen up, obviously, the decals and the paint. So there's the body beginning to soak in some basic rubbing alcohol. Now I will turn my attention to the chassis and just begin disassembling it. So I took off the retaining clip. See how the motor's coming off? It's a mess. Just pop the center gear out. As you can see, that needs cleaning. The brush. The magnets. I meant to put the front magnet up here by the F and the back one by the R for rear. We'll pop that other brush out. It's stuck a little. There it came. Those are actually in pretty good condition, just dirty. Hopefully you can see that. It's just a dirty mess. Pop off the brush. There comes one spring. Pop off another brush. There comes the other spring. Put those in back here. Keep the chassis in the middle. Many of you have probably seen this handy tool. I use it mostly to take the rims off so you don't damage them. Slide it right under there. Make sure it's centered. Turn. Few turns. There you go. Nothing's damaged. It's reusable. That's the front. We'll put it over here by the front. This is an old car. The back, same way. This comes off. It's a handy little tool for removing the wheels. Gentle push down to get it going. If it'll pull out by hand, I'll do that. It does. There it is. There's the gear. The chassis is free. Next, I'm going to begin soaking the copper on the chassis. This is what I use Revere copper and stainless steel cleaner. Some of this is in this little bottle here. I start by putting some in the middle. Let it sit down there. There you go. Turn it over. Just coat the copper. %100 covered. Great. Come to a pickup shoe. Let's try to coat it all on the bottom side. Lay it on top of the chassis. Again, coat the next one on the bottom side. Lay it on top of the chassis. I will clean this one with some sandpaper. Your retainer clip, the bottom side. Lay it on the front of the chassis. Then come back and cover these the rest of the way. You could have cleaned and smoothed out the grooves and the brushes first. I'll have to do it later. But more than likely I would have done those first, being that they're so damaged. Now we'll clean up the armature. Basically I just start with a little paper towel on something this dirty. As you can see, just get off the top dirt. Get all the main dirt off first. That's more like a dusting to start with. Then, this is a track cleaning eraser. And I'll just start working on the bottom of the armature, spinning it. And you can't see it yet. I can see it. It's slowly becoming clean. It's coming. And I'm not going to hurry or go slow, so this will take a little bit. However, I think it's a little safer than using sandpaper, and is, in my opinion, more effective. Blow it off, see what we got going. It's coming. And this smooths out the surface. It's pretty nice when it's done. We're getting there. This was quite dirty. That way this one's taking a little longer. And we'll see what kind of condition this armature's in a moment. It's coming. Well, we'll pause here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So you can see, that's very nice, and actually it's very smooth. We're going to come back to that in a moment. Now, you can use a piece of very fine sandpaper, This is, let's see if it says it on it. I don't know, but it's probably at least 1500 grit. Very, very fine. And take this thimble. There you can see that the gears plates. We're going to clean those up a little. It just so happens that this crazy purple box I'm working in is ribbed. And that's amazing, because those ribs certainly help to clean things up when you want to apply them to a piece of sandpaper. So that's looking pretty good. I'm not worried about getting it perfect, but that was actually very nice. And the fine sandpaper, you know, won't leave any sandpaper marks the finer you go. So that's very nice. We'll do the other one. And we'll also do that with the one that is loose, but I'll do that in a little while. It's coming. You have to turn it over and look at it a little bit. Obviously you want to be gentle. These armatures are fragile. That works tremendously. So we'll look at those. So those are looking nice. We'll be done with that for now. You can do more if you want to be meticulous. Now you want to take a Q-tip and the trusty old isopropyl rubbing alcohol. Again, there it is. Just dip the Q-tip in there. What's beautiful about this stuff is it dries relatively quickly. And then just go and spin it on the bottom of the armature. And if there's dirt stuck in those crevices, this will go in and loosen it up and get it out for you. There's not too much dirt in those crevices on this one. Sometimes there's a lot. This one, not too much. Then it's still a little bit wet. We'll just go and around and get some of the gunk off of this thing. It's definitely a mess in that way. And a quick run over the top. We're only halfway, just so you know, with this thing. You can spin past these gears if you want and get in the edges. Now we're going to get the other side wet and do the top as good as we can. I would not consider myself a collector. I'm a hobbyist. I have a lot of cars. However, my joy is in taking something like this old Corvette and getting it so I can put it on the track. So that's pretty good. There's a little bit of moisture left on there. We'll go back one last time to the bottom. Sometimes you get stuff stuck in that gear from racing around the track. If that's the case, you want to pull it out. Now's the time. This is how you do it. If something was stuck in there, you try to grab it and pull it out. But this one's clean. So there you go. Have it, you can take a look at it. We're not quite done with this, but I'll pause for a moment. If you're running out of that precious red oil, here it is. It's virtually identical. I cannot tell the difference. This entire bottle of 4 ounces is like $6. Now we're going to just slightly oil this armature. Let's start with the bottom one. Probably don't have to, but that's what I do. Just put a drop at the top. It can sit there for a moment. While it sits there, take your dental floss. This is actually dental floss, thick. Wrap it around your finger till it sticks. Grab your armature. This takes a little practice, but you have to get used to it. Slide that oil under that gear. Then if you want, you can spin it once around that gear. Take the top gear and with your nail just slide that thing. Turn it, excuse me. And we'll see. It brought some dirt out. You can go the other direction. So it's doing two things. It's getting some dirt out. As you can see it, maybe you can see that it's getting some dirt out and putting in some fresh oil. A film of oil. So that's good enough. You know, when you're done, you can gently wipe that area. Top, you do the same way. Drop oil. You can let that set for a moment. Grab your dental floss. Get this out of the way. Kind of hold it here on the edge so you have some leverage. Bring the dental floss up to the top, slide it under. This one I do a little bit differently. Now you can actually spin that around a few times. Then you can take and spin this around, and you know the oil that is on the dental floss is being applied to the gear. And then when you're done, you can just take the dental floss out. Sometimes it takes a couple spins. Might get caught up in there a little bit. Then the last one, same way, a little drop at the top. Get your dental floss around your finger. Use this little edge as leverage, go up to the top, go around. Hopefully you're able to see enough of this to understand what I'm doing. Then work that around a little. Then work that gear from underneath. Take it off. If you like, you can use a Q-tip to clean the excess oil off. Well, I like having a clean armature, knowing that there's oil under that gear. So there you go, you got a really clean plate, top and bottom, and yet it's oiled. Okay, we'll pause. How well this track eraser works for cleaning a gear. Put it on there and spin. Say if you want, you can use a track eraser or you can use sandpaper. You see that gear is really cleaning up. Something about the surface of the eraser does not leave scratch marks, which is really nice. And we'll call that good, because it doesn't have to be perfect. So there you go. Hopefully you can see that. Very nice. The brushes, commutator brushes, these are very clean. I can see that. Just a little, you can go on the, do it again on the eraser. Looks good. Get some oil off before I do that. Just a little slide, just enough so you can see the copper under them. Those are ready. The gear, let's see if there's any dirt on it, clean it up. Okay, we'll pause. I have come upstairs with the chassis that's been soaking in the copper cleaner, and I have a very soft bristle toothbrush, warm water running very slowly, and I'm hoping I can keep everything within the picture. So we'll go to the retainer clip. And aggressively or vigorously, you can wash this stuff. It's been sitting for about 10 minutes while I oiled up and cleaned up and oiled up the chassis. So here's the retainer clip. Nice. These brushes may need a little work downstairs. They were very messy. However, the bulk of the cleaning should occur right here. Get a little water on your toothbrush. It actually helps to create a suds. I chose a chassis that was highly corroded, and hopefully this will prove its effectiveness. I don't know if I've ever done one this quite corroded. Definitely almost all of it's coming off. I might have to do a little work downstairs on it. We'll pause just for a moment. When I do the chassis, I'll turn this back on. I probably could have let those set a little longer and let the copper cleaner do a little better job. However, I guess I'm in a little hurry because I want to get this video done. And so now I'll go to the chassis. Obviously, you have to be a little bit safe or careful that you don't damage the little wires that cause the electricity to go from the chassis up to the armature. But you can be somewhat aggressive. That's what I found, especially with a soft bristle toothbrush. And yep, I get obviously this whole thing soaking wet. It's plastic and metal, and it'll dry just beautifully. And like the pickup shoes, I probably could have let this sit for another 10 minutes or even longer and let the copper cleaner do a little bit better job. So there it is. So obviously it's better. It's certainly not perfect. I may soak that again, but I won't show you that on the video. So after a second cleaning, turned out pretty good, not perfect. You can see some residual corrosion still on these. So I thought I'd take a moment. I normally don't. I use a Dremel for all kinds of things, but I'll use it here for a second. Oh, I have to plug it in, I'm sorry. If you don't have one of these, they're handy. Not that it had to be this clean, but take a second and show what a Dremel can do for you. You can also use a Dremel to remove the indentations left from the car going around the track. So you get the idea. See, there's a little indentation. This one's not too deep. I took some of it out with the Dremel. On the rough sandpaper, still there. It's almost gone. Sometimes you have to switch because it gets hot. Too hot to hold. Virtually gone. Now I'll go to the very fine sandpaper. That's nice. Then you can do the other one. Now we'll begin putting the chassis back together. I like to put a little oil in the gear holes, the armature hole in the gear hole. From the bottom, put some oil there, put some oil here. Turn it over. Front magnet, brushes. I like them to be on a little angle, slight angle. Somehow it seems like the armature goes in a little better that way, easier. The armature looks good. First test, turn it on. Here we go. Alright, it's got life anyways. That's pretty good. Nice and strong. Really good spin. And now we'll continue putting the chassis back together. Let's get rid of a little bit of that oil that came out there and some there. Get our top gear. You prep this is how I prep it. Very little oil. Spin that gear with it all the way around. Spin this gear all the way around. So there's the slightest oil. Put some in the middle. Drop the gear on. Get it to sit. Wipe a little oil off the top. Put your clip back on. And this will give us another idea of how well the motor's doing. Now it's got a little bit more to push. Let's see. Pretty good. Look at tweaking it in a little bit. Okay. Now we'll put on the back gear. Get our trusty rubbing alcohol. Get the tip wet. Just take the gear and clean it a little. Hopefully that's clear. Just get whatever dirt you can off it. Outside there. That's pretty good. Drop it in. Make sure there's nothing stuck to it like cotton. Spin the gear slightly. It's ready for the wheel. I did choose a couple old but nicer looking axles. Now also you can glue here a little bit. I mean glue, excuse me. You can oil there a little bit. I meant to do this first. And oil here a little bit. That's what I do anyways. Now we can put the gear back in. Get the axle ready. just get the axle so it's lined up with the hole. Okay, it's lined up. Now I'm going to pause. I have some nice pads in my vise, and I have that lined up, and all I will do is simply turn the vise. Normally I don't do this one-handed, and move that axle through, and I can feel that it hit the other side. You can see once again I've put the wheel on slightly. I have this. Just move it a little bit on, and then you do some fine adjusting so that the chassis is free. The Corvette's a short wheelbase, so once again I'll take a little oil on the short wheelbase hole, a little oil across there. Get my axle, put it through. On the other side, the wheel. And then once again, I will put this in the vise and slowly squeeze it together. So there's the front end axle put through. Very close tolerance. However, that chassis freely spins or turns on those wheels. A final sanding of the pickup shoe. The bottom where it touches. This front end part of the shoe that strikes the rail. The back end part of the pickup shoe that touches the chassis connection. Also, this little area here, just slide it along some very fine sandpaper, front and back, just to help those connections. So you want to do that to both of the pickup shoes. The springs are in place on the chassis. Slide the pickup shoe over and under, it snaps in. Do that on this side, snaps in. It's got a good bounce. Now another test on the transformer. We'll bring that out here. These old transformers are handy. Let's see how we do. There we go, we have life. We're going to see about tuning it up now. You can touch these areas where they pick it up. Let's see. Listen closely. That back one's pretty close to where it could be. The front one, I'm going to push it down ever so gently, and you can see we're going to get a lot more speed out of this chassis. So I've taken the chassis apart. Get my trusty screwdriver. Lay it on this pickup and ever so gently push down. Doesn't take a whole lot. Sometimes you have to do this a few times for testing. That's in a little bit more. Now I'll put it all back together. Now we'll see how that adjustment is done. So you put this on here. It's definitely a little stronger. That front is fully adjusted, and now we'll try the back. There you go. I could go in and get a little bit more out of this motor by adjusting the back. For the sake of the video, I'm not going to do that. For tires on this particular chassis, here's some standard tires that are 60 years old, I guess. That's what I'm going to put on the front. On the rear, those will not work very well on the rear. They'll just sit and spin. I've got these tires that look like them on this side. If you can see the ribs on this side, they're just shiny. I get these from Weird Jack on eBay. They work extremely well. And so now that chassis is done and ready to be put onto the body. There you go. The next part will be working on the body. I will be using wet sandpaper for a few different jobs. These are the grits. They go from 1800 to 12,000. That is very fine. And I'll show you some stuff I used so you can use this wet sandpaper on plastic and as we go on. So this body is still soaking in the alcohol, and obviously water will take off decals. So this is just taking off the decals and with just gently with the wet sandpaper. And hopefully it's been soaking long enough where I can start to begin working on this paint. The paint is starting to come off. There's some of the paint coming off. You can see of the gold is coming off. Obviously you don't want to damage the plastic. So the gold's going to come off pretty easy. The black we'll see when we get there. I was obviously might have to soak a little bit more because the gold was covering it up, so it hasn't been exposed to the alcohol. So there you go. You can see that paint coming off. Pretty amazing just for rubbing alcohol. Letting it sit for whatever it's been now, an hour maybe. And we'll let that sit in there and use my fingers a little bit. Hopefully you can see that. Trying to work and watch the camera at the same time. So let's see how this black does. It might have to sit. I think we'll let it sit for a few more minutes and let it work on the black now. That was underneath the gold. Okay. So through the years, I collect stuff that, you know, from broken cars and things like that. Mako Shark, Galaxy. These are, you know, I already did that one. The lead sled, that's newer. The Lincoln. Here's the rear end for the Corvette that it's missing. So we'll put that on really near the end of the project. This rear end bumper is in pretty good condition. Not perfect. It's a little hard to see how the chrome is worn off, but I at least wanted to show you this. So I'll apply some to this. Don't go over it twice too much. Just once. And I didn't really need to do the whole thing, but for the sake of the video, I will. And let's see if I can get a good picture of that. There's the black. Could be hanging on to this with some tweezers. Let me grab them. Once you get this chrome on there, you really don't want to touch it with your fingers. Hopefully I'm not. I'd say I did a little. So, sorry. That's pretty good. There's a little black. You know, you can go out, just look where the black is, obviously. Put some of this liquid chrome on. It dries pretty quickly. And, you know, like I said, this bumper was in pretty good shape, but let's see. just let it dry. We'll be putting that on the car in a little while. So I've gotten the black line off. It was black permanent marker, and the rubbing alcohol helped, but I had to do a little finessing with some wet sandpaper as well. It's about 99% gone. It's not 100% gone. This body is in decent shape. Right now I'm going to add some plastic conditioner to it. And this is the product. Chemical Guys. Interior, exterior. Vinyl, rubber, plastic protectant. And it's miraculous. Can I use that word? You can also wet sand with this, but I don't need to because the car is actually in very nice shape. And it's easy to use. Put it everywhere. Put it on the windows. In fact, try to get it everywhere. And so I'll put some on the top. And I'll shoot a little in the bottom. Use a Q-tip. Get in all the nice corners. On the interior glass. You really want to get this stuff everywhere. We'll clean up what we can. It'll clean up pretty good using the Q-tip. Work it in, let it dry, and you'll see the results in just a few minutes. It works fast too. Put some on the bumper. We're going to paint this bumper with that chrome paint before we're done. Okay. Now, just for a few minutes, I'm going to sit here and just massage this coating in. I have this super soft cloth. All I've used it for is this wax or protectorant. Works like a wax. And so it's sort of full of this stuff dried out. But I'll begin removing it with this cloth. You could also use a fiber cloth. We'll be back in a minute. You can use a Q-tip to clean the edges. Hopefully that's clear. Yeah. Clean the wheel wells, clean the glass. Just try to get any residual coating out of there. Hopefully you can see how nicely this has turned out. Beautiful, huh? When it comes to glue, only use as much as absolutely necessary. This is the glue I use. The smallest drop is about all you need to fasten the bumper on the back end of the car. For a little embellishment, we will put a little sandpaper to the head of the screw. Nice. And we'll do the back one. So we'll add the chassis. I've already put the screw in the back end. Obviously you can lay that chassis in there like that. Turn it over. This is how I hold the screw. Hold it a little bit away from the post. Drop it in, put it on the post, it's sitting there. Only tighten as much as you need and never any more. This thing would run around the track a little bit loose, so there's no point in tightening up too much. And the back same way. Almost done, but not quite. But there the car's looking great. We'll put on the transformer, make sure she still runs. I have to plug her in. So we'll put on the transformer. There we go. Not quite done though. Using the chrome pen, I'm going to touch up the front bumper and the side chrome. That front end looks much nicer. This is a little different tip on this pen. Also liquid chrome. It comes in a set of 3 different sizes. This is 101. The one I used previously was called 102. It does a nice job. There is one side of the chrome restored on the bottom. There's the other side. Pick up the camera. There she is. Looks brand new. Runs like it's brand new. Thanks for watching.